Hello everyone, welcome back and Happy New Year. This is our first movie review of 2024. Today we are going to be talking about the Regal Mystery Movie from January 1st, the first one of the new year. It was only $1 and the movie theater was packed to the gills. And without further ado, the Regal Mystery Movie was Founders Day. In this bold political slasher, a small town is shaken by a series of ominous killings in the days leading up to a heated mayoral election. As accusations fly and the threat of a masked killer darkens every street corner, the residents must race to uncover the truth before fear consumes the town. Rated R. So Founders Day is a movie I only heard of in very small passing, like a clip on TikTok or something, and that's all I knew about this movie before I saw it. But I was pretty happy that it was another horror slasher film instead of that Jason Statham beekeeper action movie, whatever. So you're probably going to hear a lot of common themes if you watch reviews for this movie, and that is that the acting is bad. And to be truthful, a lot of the acting is really bad. And I don't mean bad in a funny way, I just mean bad in a bad way. As soon as the movie starts, we are just hit with all these characters that are just single-note stereotypical characters. Jocks, dweebs, nerds, sexy girls. It's very generic. It was also kind of hard to keep track of all these characters and their backgrounds because there's a bunch of love triangles involved and you're just kind of thrown at you immediately. And it's like, wait, who was this character again?
Billy Bob, and Billy Bob was dating Susie Q. And Sally Mae saw Billy Bob and Susie Q, but Sally Mae was with Jimmy.
It was just this whole conundrum thing. Eventually, it ironed itself out, but it was a lot to handle in the beginning. Now, some of that's okay for like supporting characters or people who were just kind of cannon fodder, but for the main characters, it doesn't make much sense. For example, the main character, Allison Chambers, played by Naomi Grace, was almost painful to watch. She was either overacting or underacting, and it was just really hard to kind of get a beat on her. And she kept making this face. It was a face like she just smelled a fart, but she was told to smile through it. And it was just her reaction for everything that she saw. She just didn't have any type of charisma that would make her be the final girl, leading girl type of character. Another example of this bad acting is in the opening scenes of the movie. We have two girlfriends on a pedestrian bridge, and they're having a romantic moment. And then all of a sudden, a truck or a car comes with big old headlights, starts revving the engine at them. And then for some reason, one of the girls immediately goes into dude bro defensive mode and is like, "What's up, bro? What's up, bro? What's up? You got a problem? You want a free show? Huh? And I was just sitting there like, what is going on? Because if you're in a situation where somebody's probably threatening you, you could just go the other direction on the bridge. Because the bridge has traffic stanchions on each side, so the truck's not going to get through it. So just, walk the other way. So not all of the acting was really bad. Some of it did pick up and get better, but it just wasn't enough, and a lot of things just kind of felt uneven. A really good example of that is an argument between the mayor and her political rival. But there's a lot of screaming, a lot of arguing, and some of it is very soap opera, over the top dramatic. And it was funny. It was really funny. I love when moments are overly played serious when it's not such a serious situation. That to me is comedy gold. I told you, I need more than 2-ply toilet paper. I need more cushion for my tushin. But then they kind of reel that back and you lose it and it just kind of becomes dull again. Again, it's just too uneven. Now, I really did like the character of the police commissioner played by Katherine Curtin. She had this like deadpan seriousness that kind of really melded together with her often not so serious actions. Like she's walking up to a crime scene and we see somebody's mangled body and she's just taking a Tootsie Pop wrapper off and just sucking on a lollipop in the middle of the crime scene. And then she just says some type of one-liner where it's like, someone was killed here. It's like, yeah, I think so. And that's funny. It was very funny. And she's pretty much stole every scene that she was in with this this just deadpan comedy humor. Now, this movie suffers from something I like to call genre confusion. Thinking about like when I watched Thanksgiving, which didn't know if it wanted to be a comedy, if it wanted to be a horror, if it wanted to be a black comedy. This movie is the same way. Sometimes these comedic scenes come at you and it's really funny, and then other times the scenes are just not funny whatsoever, and it's just played to be dull and maybe too serious. It's just more of that unevenness in the pacing of the movie. Now, if the movie's going for a slasher perspective, it really struggled. One of those issues is the killer. The killer was dressed as a judge for some reason, complete with a powdered wig and a gavel with a switchblade in the base. And there really wasn't a reason for why the killer was dressed this way. The movie takes place during a small town's tricentennial celebration and a few weeks before a mayoral election. And I'm not quite sure how a judge costume fits in with that. I guess you could try to make a connection to like magistrates of the yesteryear, you know, when a town was formed, they had magistrates who kind of ran the town. It didn't look terrible, but it did look a little cheap with like the black robes and a very Party City wig. Another problem with this being a slasher are the kills. The kills are not very creative, and they're actually pretty boring. The general audience didn't really seem to mind in my theaters. They were still oohing and ahhing when people got killed, but for me, it was just something that I've already seen before. I kept hoping I would see something where maybe the killer stabs out somebody's eyes and then leaves a note saying, "Justice is blind." You know, something campy, or that would have to do with the killer looking like a judge instead of just, oh, stabby stabby. Now, if this movie is supposed to be more of a comedy slasher, it also struggled in the comedy department. Now, I've already talked about how the comedy is very uneven, and some characters are funny and some characters are just kind of boring. And then there was this really strange phenomenon where some of the characters would say lines and then pause, like they're holding for laughter. And it just kind of messed up the flow of whatever they were trying to achieve if this was supposed to be a comedy movie. Now, I did like the soundtrack of the movie. It was very electronic dance music. It wasn't any music that I recognized, but I did enjoy it, and I think it felt the vibe of the movie pretty well. So the movie isn't completely terrible. It actually had quite a few good ideas in it that I really liked, that I kind of wish were more consistent throughout the whole film. The writers drew some really nice parallels between the political climate in the United States and with the characters in this movie. You have the mayor, who's the incumbent, whose entire platform is consistency. You know, I'm consistent. I'm here to give you what I've always given you. And then you have the rival candidate, whose whole platform is change. We're here to change things. The mayor's too consistent. We need change, change, change. Like, both of these positions, consistency and change, are just generic platitudes that politicians use to rile up their bases. And I really thought that was a very intelligent angle of this movie. And even when you get the killer reveal and the reasoning behind it, it kind of falls into this whole political theme. And I think it really works. It's just the execution of the movie along the way just fell short. Now, one could make the argument that this judge-killer character is kind of a metaphor for the justice system, and how sometimes the justice system can be skewed into completing political motivations for politicians. You know, the killer is the judge, jury, and executioner of this person's political gains. But again, that's such a subtle thing to have in the movie that it's probably going to get overlooked by bad acting. Now, the last thing about this movie is that it's only an hour and 46 minutes. That's a decent time for a horror slasher film. But to me, the movie felt so long. I mean, after the movie was over, I was like, this had to have been running for like 2.5 hours. There were a lot of reveals with the killer and figuring out who's involved, who's not involved. And every time they had a little reveal, it's like, oh, okay. But they would have a whole flashback sequence of previous scenes in the movie. And these scenes were almost the full scenes again. So it wasn't just flashbacks. It was like we're rewatching the beginning parts of the movie. And we had like 3 whole reveals about the motivations behind the killing. And every single time was a flashback sequence. And it just felt so long and derivative. And I was like, oh my God, we get it. We watched this already. And now for the rating. So this one's a little weird for me just because I really wanted to like the movie, but I just couldn't get past these weird inconsistencies. And also, I do feel like I was kind of influenced by the audience around me, because there were a lot of people around me, a lot of talking, and people just were just as confused as me, but they were more vocal about how confused they were. So, I'm going to give this movie 4.5 out of 10. I know, that's such a low rating. And this movie had a lot of great ideas. The whole political aspect of it could have been such a great little commentary film interspersed into this slasher film. But it was just the execution that was just lackluster and just left me wanting more. So did you see Founders Day on the Regal Mystery Movie on New Year's Day? If so, let me know what you thought about the movie down in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can keep getting fantastic, unbiased, and honest content just like this. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.